Hello again, book lovers. Wainwright, the biography by Hunter Davies. If you don't know who Wainwright is, you haven't been walking in the Lake District. He's pretty well known all over the British Isles and indeed the world to anybody that wants to go walking in Britain. He's famous for having published the Wainwright Guide to various walks to appreciate the lovely views of the Lake District. Why would you write a biography about this chap? Well, for that reason would be enough, but also it turns out to be an interesting story. I remember once reading somebody criticising biographies that included childhoods because this person said all childhoods are more or less the same, and that just isn't true, I don't think, and I'm fascinated to learn about the origins of people whose later deeds you already know about. And this chap was born in Blackburn, near where I was born, namely Bolton, and he was born into extreme poverty. So we begin the book with a bit of povy porn, right down to having to eat the pet rabbit. He has a schizoid alcoholic father, and so you get an idea of Wainwright's desire to escape. That seems to be a theme of this book. How does he escape? He escapes via the church. He escapes by dreaming of a dream girl that he'll one day meet. That's the sort of tease on the dust jacket. And I'll leave the book to tell you that story. It is overall a story of an escape into love. He escapes via going for long solitary walks. And this was the point where I thought, oh, I used to do that when I was a kid as well. And I noticed throughout the book several points of similarity between Mr. Wainwright and me, so let's start with them. Here we go. First saw the sea at Blackpool. Oh yes, I remember that. That's been common to many a northwestern child, and I can remember it to this day. Founded the Blackburn Rovers Supporters Club. Well, I didn't do that, but I've been a mad keen football fan since childhood. Had a dislike of flat landscapes, which he thought were like a story without a plot. Check. I now live in the mountains, where the same thing happened to me that happened to him when he got out of his Blackburn situation. He went up to Kendal, lived in the Lake District, and thought he'd just landed in paradise. He says he felt like he was on holiday all the time, and I have to admit that's true for me a lot of the time. For years afterwards, I never lost the feeling that I was really on holiday, he says. I walked to the office through green fields and amongst trees beside a river, and there were hills in the distance. Life was good. I have no car nor any wish for one. Me neither. Secretly funneled a lot of his money, I don't have as much as him, but to animal charities. Check. A lot of it going to the RSPCA. He hated ties. Check. He loved being in nature and saw mountains as either male or female. Check. He was outwardly grumpy. But once you got to know him, etc., which few people did, it has to be said. And also, it's noted of his unhappy marriage. Quote, in those days people stayed together, whatever the situation. There were a lot of unhappy marriages. And that's where we find ourselves. There's an extraordinary self-confessional story which he wrote before he even started writing professionally at all, which is one of the most honest and poignant things I've ever read. It reminded me of a story written by a friend of mine, which he showed me in confidence, concerning his alcoholism. This was part of a group he was in. But again, it's an absolutely corking story. We're told that one of the cafes that Mr. Wainwright used to frequent is no longer there. We're told it's now an Asian-run shop renting videos. Well, I bet it isn't. This book came out then in 1991. I've got an old hardback edition. It looks almost Victorian. It's got some good plates in it, photographs, maps, etc. But yes, time doesn't half march on. So anyway, there he is, awful marriage, dreaming of his dream girl that might help him to escape as well. Leading a very ordinary life, working in Blackburn Town Hall. And here, Mr. Davies passes my biography test, because I did get a good impression of what he was like. He seems to be always larking around, drawing cartoons of people, being generally cheerful. He serves his time there, goes through his depressive divorce, in fact has a bout of depression, in which we find this sentence, which I think is quite a nice insight into the fortitude of character and maybe not a bad bit of advice. He says, but then I remembered from past experience that I recover quickly from a stunning blow, and that the present bleakness of my existence will be followed by happier days, happier perhaps than any I've known in the past. And indeed it turned out to be. He goes up to Kendal, feels like he's in heaven. His son is teased at school for having a Blackburn accent. It's that far away. He goes out walking in his normal clothes, tweed suit, normal shoes, just like Alan Turing did. And all the while churning out these Lake District guides. And you think, well, okay, there's lots of them, but these were actually handwritten and justified and beautifully drawn. In fact, he had to redo the first 100 pages of one of them by hand because he wasn't happy with the justification, I think it was, can't remember. But anyway, that's what he got into. That's the story we have in this book. But I did find it very evocative of times and places, bygone times and places now. And you get a nice flavour of the guy. He was very secretive, but he maintained a lot of friendships via correspondence. We get a lot of letters, which I normally find quite boring in biographies, but these are chirpy and, again, in some places very poignant. Here's what he said about one of the correspondents that died. He was kind to me. Kind men leave a gap when they pass on. The other sort are never missed. That was said of his publisher, Sandy Hewitson. Even though this book is very old, we get the usual warnings of, hey, watch out, there might be a little bit sexist language compared to what we're used to today. There are some very weak examples of that in some of his letters. Perhaps we'll laugh in future times at what we found censorious today, who knows. In his 80s, reaching the end, he becomes conscious that he's at the end of his life. He's very stoic about it. He's going blind, but he also is the kind of bloke that would not have borne invalidity well. Very, very curmudgeonly. I think I'll put that on the like me checklist as well. There was once a plan to offer as a prize to the person that found this marked book in a bookshop and bought it, that you could claim a dinner with Mr. Wainwright at his favourite Kendal pub. But once the books were distributed, he decided he didn't really want to eat with strangers, so he asked the publisher at least to tell him which bookshop the winning booklet was to be found in, and he went and bought them all just to get out of having dinner with somebody. Do you know, I could see myself doing that as well. Anyway, I enjoyed it. A nice browse through the life of someone. If you've never heard of him, but you like biographies, it's a well done biography. And for anyone that's interested in Alfred, this is as good as you're going to get, I think. So, to leave you with one last flavour, here's the final paragraph before afterwards, chapter 28, sort of tying up the loose ends. This is just before it. He says, all I ask for at the end is a long resting place by the side of innominate tarn on haystacks, where the water gently laps the gravelly shore and the heather blooms. A quiet place, a lonely place. I shall go to it for the last time and be carried. Someone who knew me in life will take me there and empty me out of a little box and leave me there alone. And if you, dear reader, should get a bit of grit in your boot as you are crossing haystacks in the years to come, please treat it with respect. It might be me. I suppose the overall effect this book had on me was that the next time I go to England, hopefully next year, I definitely have to go to the Lake District now.